Terminator franchise has had a lot of highs and lows. In recent years, it's basically dead because they keep milking the franchise and making shitty films like Terminator Genesis. Terminator Dark Fate. Remember the movie where they killed John Connor at the beginning of the movie? What a great film. It seems that most of the Terminator films, or in the first two, aren't very good. But that made me think, well, what made the first two films so good? In fact, I actually haven't seen them in a while, so I felt like I should watch them. So this time we're going to be reviewing Terminator, and maybe the sequels. Other than two, I'm not sure if I'm going to watch the rest of them, but we will see. The Terminator, released in 1984, is the second film directed by James Cameron, who will go on to make a bunch of blockbuster hits. You know who he is. However, you're wondering, second movie, what's his first movie? Why, it's Piranha 2, The Spawning. Yeah, this is the first ever film that James Cameron directed. Piranha 2. Piranha 2. I would show a clip of the movie, but the movie looks really boring, but hey. Terminator was a passion project for James Cameron, as he was also the co-writer of the film. He had the idea when working on the crappy movie Piranha, which was, just a gig job. He really wanted to make the movie, and he casted Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was a rising star, as the role as the Terminator, who's all over the marketing, but he's actually the main villain. A lot of conflict of interest in this movie, though, because Arnold Schwarzenegger was already filming a movie known as Conan the Barbarian. So in order to actually film the Terminator, he had to go only film during nighttime. So that's why most of the scenes take place during night, in case you're wondering. As well as the fact the movie had a very small budget, the film took forever to be made. That James Cameron finished writing 2 films in between the time it took to finish the movie. Those films being Rambo: First Blood Part 2 and Aliens. Most of them went to the effects, which were done by Stan Winston and Gene Warren Jr. The budget was only $6.4 million, in case you're wondering, so the effects are pretty impressive on that budget, even though sometimes they don't look the best. Did you know that James Cameron wanted someone like Sylvester Stallone, who actually played the Terminator in a poster in Last Action Hero, and Mel Gibson to play the Terminator role, either one of those two, but they did not sign on because he didn't think Arnold Schwarzenegger was a big enough star at the time, which is kind of weird. And the studio suggested O.J. Simpson, but James Cameron thought he would not be a believable killer. I can't even express how ironic that line is. Anyway, let's talk about The Terminator, which is actually an interesting movie because it has a bunch of genres, being sci-fi, action, and horror, all in one, and a little bit of romance and drama. It's a film that fits all categories. So The Terminator, played by Arnold here, wants these guys' clothes, but he arrives naked because time traveling, well, you can't have anything else other than your regular flesh. That's why the Terminator is covered in flesh in general, in case you're wondering. It's a way for them to time travel. They try to mug him, but he kills them, basically, because the Terminator likes to terminate people. That's why it's called the Terminator. Another time traveler named Kyle Reese. Wait, Kyle? That's my name! Oh my god, it's me. Just kidding, it's not me. I'm not that good looking. Well, the interest scenes, we don't know a whole lot about these characters, even their names at this point yet, or what their motivations are, but we do know how they act. One is very blunt and forward, like the Terminator. He just does whatever he wants based off a computer program. While Reeves is a lot more clever and shifty. We know he has a lot of tactical training, so he's able to avoid the cops and able to get out of areas pretty swiftly and nimbly, probably due to the fact he's been hiding from machines most of his life, so police aren't that much hard work for him. We also don't know what their motivations are. Them to build up tension throughout the movie till we get to the scene in the nightclub where we don't know who is what and what their motivations are. His motivation is it's just to kill Sarah Connor, all of them, because he doesn't know which one he's looking after. He of course buys a bunch of guns here from the gun shop owners. The guy happily sells them because this is America, and for some reason in America, even to this day, it's okay to buy a bunch of guns because apparently people misread the Second Amendment rights and things. It's about buying a whole bunch of ammunition for killing multiple people at a time, and people try to backtalk it because they love killing people and shooting things because they're assholes. Seriously, why is there any reason that we should have this amount of weapons in America? I don't fucking get it. I mean, both the time travels here. We don't know a whole lot about them, but one of them is shifting out of a shotgun that he's stolen from the police officer earlier, and just tries to saw it off. And showcase one is just a lot more blunt, one's a lot more crafty. I kind of like that showcase. Main character. Yeah, none of those time travelers are the main character. The main character of the movie is actually Sarah Connor, who's a very unlikely hero, but at the time was pretty neat. Have a woman as a lead in an action movie, and she follows a lot of the traits of the hero's journey. Starts off in a generic work environment, and at the end of the movie, she completely changes character. The someone who has to learn how to fight for the future, basically. It really just showcased how mundane her life is compared to the other two of time travels we're following right now, who are doing crazy stuff right now. Overall, it might seem like a B boring, but it actually is paced very well in between these shots and other ones, even though her dynamic is kind of weird. Like, why is there a kid dropping ice cream? Has that ever happened to you? I don't think so. Fuck that kid. All the women that are named Sarah Connor in the LA area. So the main Sarah Connor, who is the one, I want to say main, you already know who Sarah Connor is, not the one old lady in the previous clip I just showcased, is hiding in a nightclub because there's a bunch of Sarah Connors being killed, and she doesn't want to be killed like them. Gets brutally killed by the Terminator. Quite sad. Poor woman. She shouldn't have gotten in the way. How about this? But Sarah Connor actually has a pet iguana that never appears after 2 scenes. It's never mentioned again. I have no idea what the point was. It has one jump scare and that's about it. Pointless, but it's kind of funny. So eventually everything goes down in the nightclub, which is our main point of the movie where everything comes together until we get to the main meat and potatoes. You got a lot set up. And now the Terminator's looking for Sarah Connor. Kyle Reese is in the background waiting for the Terminator to strike out. So they're both all waiting for one another. And then a whole on action scene happens. Slow-mo and a lot of cheesy 80s action music. Like, wow, it's very cheesy, but I kind of love it. The slow motion, though, is a little too much in some scenes.
Come with me if you want to live.
Other explanation scenes going in between. We finally get to learn what's even going on. You see, the Terminator wants to kill Sarah Connor because it's prophesied that in the future, well, not prophesied, it's known that in the future that her son, John Connor, it becomes the savior of the human race and defeats the machines. So the machines sent back a Terminator in order to stop that from happening. Kyle Reese is there to protect her because he was sent by John Connor himself to do so. Because Cyberdyne, which is a corrupt company, Skynet, they're both the same thing basically. They made a machines that took over the world basically. She reluctantly joins, thinks it's all kind of BS, but then again, that guy did take 5 billion bullet shots and still stood. So the Terminator actually crashes the car here, and for some reason he leaves. Or later it's not like he's scared of the police, because he literally defeats a bunch of police later, so maybe just kind of self-conscious and like the fact that people could see his robotic eye. That's my guess. Most likely that's probably the reason, because that's the next scene we see. If Chris interviews him and thinks he's crazy, and thinks that this guy does not exist. He's like, he's going to come here and get all of you guys, they're going to get her too. He's like, wow, this guy's a nut job. I can make a fortune off this guy. Unfortunately, this guy, even though he's set to be kind of an asshole, doesn't die, because as soon as the Terminator enters, he kind of leaves the building. Also, the Terminator has an eye problem here, as you can probably tell. Well, a lot of the effect shot looks pretty good. The full-on face dummy looks kind of bad. Not bad, but it looks pretty obvious. Like, that does not look like Arnold's face, but it's kind of cool at the same time. Like, yeah, it doesn't look... You can tell when, oh, there's regular Arnold, and there's face dummy. Terminator is basically your typical bad guy in a horror movie where he gets beat up and destroyed more and more the movie goes on, but he keeps going. He keeps getting destroyed bit by bit. I like that a lot. It's pretty cool. Asks to come on in, and he wants to see Sarah Connor. The guy's like, you gotta get an appointment, so sit down. But the Terminator said just looks around the area to size up what he can do here. And then after making an inference, he says an iconic line and one of the best scenes in the movie.
I'll be back.
Yeah, a pretty cool scene. The Terminator shooting up the police station where all the cops we just got introduced to get killed. And a pretty horrifying scene. It actually showcases the horror of guns. A lot of horror movies just showcase knives and blades, but realistically, most of the people doing damage are the ones with guns. As I mentioned before, guns do a lot of damage in this country. Well, America. If you're watching this in Canada, I guess you don't really know that. But yeah, we have a big gun problem. We also get a cool POV vision of the Terminator, which looks a little awkward the way he holds his gun, but at the same time, it's pretty awesome.
Fuck you, asshole.
In case you're wondering, who is John Connor's dad if she's always going to be being chased after the Terminator? Because that's going to be a hard guy to take out. Well, you're looking at him. Of course, they'd be Kyle Reese, because what else would it be? That doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, he's from the future and all that, but hey, I guess it makes sense in some weird way. You know, he's not even born yet, so does that make her a pedophile? Who knows? They fuck, and I can't show that because, you know, it's not, censored. One final chase here where the Terminator drives this giant truck around that he stole from some guys. But it's okay, because the truck gets exploded, and they quite literally explode this truck. It looks pretty awesome. The Terminator got kind of fucked up during the chase scene if you couldn't tell by his... be the end of it, but the Terminator doesn't die that easily because he rises from the ashes as his actual, we call it his robo-skeleton, whatever you call it. I'm not sure. Rise from the ashes, and we get to see the pretty cool effect where sometimes this effect doesn't look too good, but most of the time it looks really cool. Unfortunately, that means that Kyle Reese is dead. R.I.P. myself. Does not go down easily. Well, a lot was wrong with that. And its arm sticks out for future sequels, and yeah, that's the end of the Terminator. The movie ends with Sarah Connor in Mexico. I don't know why she's in Mexico, but whatever. Flying into what looks like a blue screen. And that's the end of Terminator. She's pregnant with a kid that she has no father for because the father died. And she's got a photo that she'll give to her son one day, and she'll give it to her his work co-worker, which will become his father. And that's the end of Terminator. And that's my review of the Terminator from 1984. It's a pretty good film with a couple baby flaws. I didn't really mention it. A little bit of pacing problems, but it's close to 9 out of 10. There's a lot of cool little details, but overall, it's overshadowed by its amazing sequel. So what do you guys think of Terminator? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time when I'm definitely going to be reviewing the Terminator. Well, Terminator 2. Judgment Day. See you then.